We're gonna talk about.
Okay, so I wanted to make a video on Lotto just to talk about where she is in her career right now. She's in a weird position because she has the skills to make a good song. She has the look. She even has the story. But there's just something about Lotto that can't get her off that hump. She's been grinding for a while now. People have been watching her since she was young because of that rap TV show that she was on. I didn't watch it or anything, but that's how people knew about her. And to see her blossom to the mainstream, it was something that they enjoyed. But with Lotto having the skill set that she has, body positions.
Like he exploits black people as much as he possibly can.
I feel like it's Vlad disrespecting the culture. I don't feel like it's that big of a deal because he's been disrespecting the culture.
You see, dudes like Vlad TV, they want to say that I'm disrespectful or humble me because I question why they're even speaking on my culture.
Some people would say, oh, he deserved that. You know, because Rick Ross, they called him maroon, there was a little scuffle. But basically, they kind of judge you. And then they had pictures.
I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late, just so we understand. I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was wrong.
I love the way President Donald Trump.
What up, Psycho?
This lady is
Appreciate it. I finally feel like myself again.
Apparently, when you're talking about predators, apparently Chris is a name that is just super synonymous with it. Boy, oh boy, do we have more feeling with
What's up, Ricardo?
His former friend and former colleague, Chris Tyson.
Wait. Hey, it's not that Chris. It's not that Chris.
Oh, okay.
Mind you, her name is Ava, so it's definitely not that Chris.
So we're talking about nabbing these predators. Of course, the name Chris Hansen runs.
Omar, we're talking about the predator.
Oh, not that Chris either?
Not catching the predators. It's not that Chris either.
Chris from A&P? Well, they say you never know who's living next door, so we got to talk about Chris next door and his.
Omar, come on now. The situation is not that complex.
I'm in Detroit. I'm in Michigan. So, not hello to all the Jamaica people. Appreciate you being here. You could be anywhere else in the world, but you're right here. Appreciate that.
Be fun. So the thing with Doctor Doom is.
Did any of you see the new Deadpool movie yet? I saw that. I actually want to see it again.
Nothing against some of them that can rap, but I care about us more. I won't go through, I won't talk about it no more. I want 22 years, every time I do an interview, they ask me about M&M's.
Hey Peter, I don't think it's like where they're from. I just think it's just them.
Honesty, but sometimes this unchecked honesty leads to moments that are cringeworthy, awkward.
This matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
Yes, I am.
All right, thank you, sir. You may put your hand down. Sir, what is your name?
Marcel Mathers.
It was
Mr.
great.
Mathers, can you read,
It was
write,
great.
understand
I loved
English
it.
language?
I can't wait to see it again. And I'm pretty sure it's one of those movies I'll watch multiple times. Last night, before I went to sleep, I was watching Deadpool 2 just to see a couple, anything I missed, any little references that I missed, and they literally were teasing
This abandoned house.
Deadpool versus Wolverine for years. It's been years. Tommy, greetings from Germany. What's up? What's up? Greetings from Michigan. USA, Michigan. Greetings from Germany. What's up? What's up? Greetings from Michigan. Look at me. That was me watching me. Very funny. Very funny. Shortly, I'm probably gonna start playing some Mortal Kombat again, but trying to give my hands a break for a second. He said what? And what? I didn't get that.
If you're Wes Craven, you move to direct some TV episodes of the newly revamped Twilight Zone, and then make a Frankensteinish film about Dead Girl brought back to life with a computer chip, which causes her to go on a killing rampage, also known as Deadly Friend. If you're New Line Cinema, you immediately start making a sequel to your new super popular movie. First thing you do is find a bunch of new kids for Freddy to kill. Special effects artists.
I feel like I can't find anything on YouTube that's worth watching at this very time, this very moment.
There are places in this world that you will probably never see. Sometimes that's a good thing, as they might be controlled by insane dictators who will detain you just...
Alright, this first serial killer was so feared that there was witnesses that knew the identity of the killer.
Squid Game. I literally just saw that commercial like 15 minutes ago. I recognized the music and I looked up. I'm like, oh, they're bringing this back again. So that's pretty dope. It's pretty dope.
During the 1970s.
I did watch the entire first Squid Game, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I want to actually like go sit through a whole nother Squid Games. What's this ring mean to me? It represents magic. It represents the 5 elements: earth, air, water, fire, and spirit. That's what it means to me. It's a constant reminder that I'm more than meets the eye.
Famine, the brainwashing of your friends, family, and children. Unreasonable laws that can land you and
I think I'm gonna watch this one. The real reasons North Korea won't let its people leave. That should be interesting. Man, I really don't even know. I don't know. To me, it's like for the last 10 years, man, nothing from my point of view has changed when it comes to who's president and all that stuff. Like, man, I must be like way off the grid. Like, I don't pay attention to the news. I don't pay attention to this fake woke stuff. I don't pay attention to the what is it called? The selective outrage. I stay to myself. I write my songs. Yeah, man, I did. I just voted for whoever my mom said vote for, because I just don't care, you know? It's always been the same, man. Every year, it's something new. Whoever wins this one, it's going to be a lot of people mad. Mad. Says, what are your thoughts on COVID shit? I feel like it was another distraction. Another thing to have people all up in an uproar. Hey, you know what's funny? Because of COVID, I actually grew locks. Because I thought I was gonna die. I remember when my dad first told me I should get locks. And I was like, what? I don't want to get no locks because it don't look good on me. I want haircuts. I want the waves. I was one of them brush waves kids. And then when COVID happened, it was like, well, we're stuck in the house. My barber can't cut my hair. There's a good chance everybody's gonna die. So, all right, I guess I'll grow my hair. And now look, here we are, alive and long fucking hair. No, I don't worry about that, man. I'm a child of the Most High and the universe. The universe got me. Everything happens for me, not to me. So If it's my time to go, it happened for me, so I can get on to the next life. What's up, two brothers? How you doing, man? I hope you're doing well. Had a blessed day. Did anyone you know die of COVID? No, nobody I knew died of COVID. As a matter of fact, my sister went to Mexico during COVID, and she said she had the best time. She said over there, COVID didn't exist in Mexico. She would send me pictures of her jumping in those blue waters, and I was sitting at home like, is this not a worldwide thing? Why are people over there having fun and all together drinking at bars and stuff, and we over here herded, being herded into these little spaces all day, every day. So no, nobody I knew died. I friends of mine that knew people. They knew people that died, but I didn't know them. Damn. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? You know, these days I don't know who's good, who's bad. I just hear names, I hear countries, and this happened, that happened. I hope great things happen. I hope that death was meaningful and not something just stupid. Welcome to war. You know, it's funny, like I really don't understand what's going on. I try to stay away from it because I'm not into politics, and I'm not like, I just don't have enough knowledge on the subjects and all the little intricate things. Like, I want to die knowing that I lived a great life trying to help people, not in fear of what they are going to do or what they can do. We're all going to die one day, so you better live your life the way you want to live it.
2022, but Batista says that in 2023, it was an uptick. Up to September 2023, 319 North Koreans had successfully fled. We don't know all of their stories. Many have escaped and then disappeared into new lives in the hope that Kim Jong-un will never find them. However, a select few have stories to share that reveal how the only people to escape.
I'm not over there, man. I can't even. I don't know enough. I can't speak on it. I don't know what's going on over there.
Named Mr. Kim. At the beginning of 2023, he pulled off a daring escape, fleeing North Korea by sea along with his mother, his brother's family, and his heavily pregnant wife. In an interview with the BBC, Mr. Kim, accompanied by a plainclothes police officer, recounted his story. There's been a lot of suffering, he said, as he explained how North Korea responded to the coronavirus pandemic. Mr. Kim says that life in North Korea became even harder once the pandemic hit, with the state broadcasting images of people dying from the virus all over the world, while instituting hard rules about what North Koreans had to do to avoid death themselves. Propaganda ramped up. Kim and his country people were told that failing to follow
all I say is, man, do the best you can to take control of your reality.
Whenever a case of COVID-19 was suspected, armed guards would arrive to quarantine an entire town or village. The people left inside couldn't get out, meaning they had no access to food outside of what was already in the town when it went into lockdown. Kim says that North Korean forces used these quarantines to exert their control. After locking down a town for several days, starving its people in the process, the government would arrive with trucks to deliver food supplies. They claimed to be selling that food cheaply, but the reality was that the state was using the pandemic to break people's spirits. Kim says they made these claims to receive praise. Quote, like starving your baby, then giving them a small amount so it would thank you. Questions started to arise in Kim's mind. He began to question the state, believing that it was using the pandemic to make a profit rather than instituting quarantines to help North Korea's people. And as more people he knew caught and survived COVID-19, he began to question whether the state had exaggerated the dangers. He started to believe that North Korea's harsh lockdowns, which involved closing its own borders,
I hope within my lifetime war just ends, like no more war.
People starving. By closing its borders, North Korea had shut out food supplies from other countries. Food prices skyrocketed, and families were left with very little to eat. As Kim said, he would wake up one morning and hear, oh, someone in this district starved to death. Those reports kept rolling in, with Kim pointing out that even North Korea's farmers were not immune from dwindling food supplies. The state would force those with a poor harvest to deliver their own food, leaving them with precious little to eat. Perhaps it's for these reasons that North Korea applied to the World Food Program for help in March 2023. Regardless, Kim managed to survive.
What's up, two brothers? This is my second time saying hi to you. Hi to you. What's up? How's your day?
Making enough money to afford stew for his family. As Kim pointed out, that counts as eating very well in North Korea. Still, Kim was far from comfortable. Being a black market seller in North Korea means that people are constantly willing to report you for your activities. After all, by reporting Kim, another North Korean could get their hands on some much needed food or financial aid. Kim says that he often had to make quick escapes when he sensed that state authorities were on their way, packing up his merchandise and going into hiding before resuming his illicit career the next day. He says that he fantasized about escaping hundreds of times before he actually made his attempt, but it was the tragic death of one of his friends that forced him over the edge. That friend wanted something simple to achieve in most other countries, a divorce from his wife. But the state told him that divorce wasn't possible unless he submitted to being sent to a labor camp. Kim's friend was devastated. He accumulated more and more debts trying to find a way out of his marriage until it all became too much. Kim's friend took his own life. He says that a visit to that friend's bedroom was one of his sparks that ignited his escape plan. According to Kim, his friend had clawed the walls of his bedroom to the point where his nails came out. That's how he knew that he needed to escape. But Kim also knew that it wouldn't be easy. He had a family in North Korea that he didn't want to leave behind, meaning that any escape plan he formulated would have to involve them. So Kim started talking to his brother. It was an easy task to convince him, along with his wife. Kim's brother had made a living by selling illicit seafood. The state cracked down, making it impossible for him to fish even though he had his own boat. When Kim came calling, he found a brother who was more than willing to plan an escape with him. That was mid-2022. The brothers spent 7 months plotting their escape from there. Though they soon ran into challenges. Many of the traditional escape routes, such as those along North Korea's northern border with China, had been cut off during the pandemic, meaning crossing over on foot was not an option. Thankfully, it wouldn't have to be. Both Kim and his brother lived in the southwest of the country, giving them another choice for escape, by sea to South Korea. But they simply couldn't jump into Kim's brother's boat and set sail. Permission to access the waters.
I don't know what's a motherboard.
Leading to Kim's brother enrolling in a military scheme. He would have permission to enter the waters, the military said, as long as he caught fish that the soldiers could sell to fund their equipment. As Kim's brother set to work in a, quote, official capacity, Kim himself started speaking to the security guards and coast guards who patrolled the coast. He made friends with several, learning about their shift patterns and protocols, until he realized that with the right timing, he and his brother could take their boat out at night without being caught. The plan started to take shape, but Kim still had another important task to complete, convincing his wife and elderly mother to make the trip with him. Neither wanted to go. The risks were simply too great. Eventually, through a lot of shouting and cajoling, Kim convinced his mother to make the trip by telling her that he wouldn't leave without her, and that she'd be responsible for his misery if she stayed. Some may see this as an underhanded tactic, but to Kim it was necessary to ensure his family stayed together. Unfortunately, his wife proved a tougher nut to crack. She was steadfast in her refusal to leave until she discovered that she was pregnant. Kim successfully argued that he and his wife were now going to be responsible for another life, and that they shouldn't raise their child in a hellhole. There was still more to do before Kim could execute his plan. Fearful of how the state might treat his father's grave when he left, desecration of graves of defectors' relatives is apparently common in North Korea. Kim boldly dug up his father's remains,
What's a
taking the
fatherboard?
body into the nearby wilderness. Kim says he burned
Hello,
it to ashes,
O.
packing the cremated remains into an urn.
Hope you're
to take
doing
with him.
well.
For
Hope
the
you're
first
having a
time in
great day.
long time, his family was united. However, before they could make the trip, Kim would need to navigate a minefield in the dark to reach his brother's boat. Pretending to pick herbs, Kim slowly mapped out a route through the mines, which had been recently planted to stop people from leaving. It was a risky gambit, but Kim knew this area wasn't well patrolled because the mines were supposed to be enough to stop people from running. He took his time, worked out his route, and with the minefield successfully mapped, he had one thing left to do: wait. Kim needed both the weather and the tide to be in his favor if his escape was to be successful. So he waited until the day when the low tide and rainy weather could be used to obscure his escape. He didn't need clear weather. That would make his boat easier to spot. Kim needed a day when the sea warning was in place, which would usually only come when a storm was brewing. He'd then have a chance to use it to obscure himself from North Korea's radar systems, gaining enough ground without being spotted that he could make his final push successful. The big
I
day
couldn't
came.
imagine
On
being
May 6th, the
somewhere
sea warning was issued, and the
so
tide was coming
horrible
in. Kim and his family sneaked
that I
through
feel
the
like I have
minefield
to
and got his
escape.
brother's
Like
boat.
I gotta
At 10 p.m., they were
just
in the
get
water,
out.
sailing
Like I
as
don't
far
feel
as
that
they
way
were
living
permitted under
here.
his brother's agreement with the military. And
I know
then they
everybody
kept going.
probably can't
The low
agree,
tide
but
worked in Kim's favor. They
that's
exposed
wild.
rocks, boulders, and
Wild, wild, wild. That's why you gotta be grateful, man. There's always somebody somewhere doing way worse or having way harder situation than you. You just gotta be grateful for your lot in life, man.
Radar systems
Do what
designed
you
to
can.
catch
Do
unapproved
what you
boats in
can.
the water. That, combined with the rain, allowed Kim to camouflage his vessel as floating rubber. Slowly but surely, Kim's boat edged toward the maritime border until he felt it was safe to pick up speed. Then he activated the throttle. According to Kim, he looked back to see a large ship follow him. The state knew that he was escaping, but the vessel it had sent simply wasn't fast enough to keep up. Kim and his family managed to ride the currents until they crossed the maritime border into South Korea. In that moment, all my tension released, said Kim. I felt like I was collapsing. Freed for the first time of North Korea's oppression, Kim sailed his brother's boat toward the island of Yonggyeong, flashing his lights as he did until the South Korean Navy spotted and rescued him and his family. However, he wasn't yet
that's
free
so
to start his
crazy.
new life. Ever wary of North Korean spies, the South Korean National Intelligence Service detained Kim and his family for interviews to determine if they were truly defectors. Satisfied with Kim's answers, the service then placed him and his family into a resettlement facility where they were taught about life in South Korea. The transition would be tough. In October 2023, the family moved into an apartment together, just in time for Kim's wife to give birth. Small things that seem so common to most, such as riding the subway, were alien
Hello.
to Kim and his family.
Oh.
But they are adapting, and with time,
Ohio
they'll
Sigma.
ingratiate themselves into their new society. It feels like I was born a second time, Kim says when talking about his new life. Speaking to the Japan Times, he says that he'd never seen a plane flying through the sky when he lived in North Korea. Now he sees them regularly. And thanks to a special job fair held for North Korean defectors, he has a chance of landing his dream role as a ship's navigator. Mr. Kim's escape set the blueprint for how North Korean defectors escaped the country in 2023. In the days when several thousand people left North Korea every year, the country's border with China used to be the default choice. As Pastor Stephen Kim, who works for JM Missionary to help North Koreans escape via China, points out, about 1,000 people used to make their way over the Chinese border annually. Since the pandemic, that number has dropped to just 20, with Kim saying that he only knows of 4 of those escapees who managed to make their way to South Korea. Others he suspects were detained in China and possibly sent back to North Korea. That leaves only the sea as an option for escape in 2023. As Sukil Park of Liberty in North Korea points out, he says that the types of escapes conducted by people like Mr. Kim have always been rare, unsurprising given what we know of Kim's story, and that many likely don't succeed. These sea escapes take meticulous planning, incredible bravery, and for everything to go miraculously well, he says. There must be many more North Koreans who have tried but not made it. Mr. Kim was one of the lucky ones. Though not all of the details of his daring escape have been independently corroborated, it's clear that he placed himself and his family in immense danger to build a new life. And he's not the only one. Though Kim's account is the most detailed story we have from a North Korean defector.
I don't know what you're saying down there, Mr. Ohio Sigma.
In October 2023, several news outlets, including Al Jazeera and the BBC, reported on a small group of suspected defectors who were discovered by the South Korean Coast Guard. The group of 4 had made their crossing in a small wooden boat, all claiming to want to defect to South Korea. They were found on the coast near Sokcho, a city just 32 miles away from Seoul. Though few details are known about this group, they were likely treated the same way as Kim and his family, meaning that they would have been detained and questioned before being sent to a resettlement facility. But in this case, the South Korean authorities are still remaining tight-lipped, perhaps to protect the anonymity of these defectors. Still, it appears that they followed the blueprint created by Mr. Kim. Their small wooden boat was agile enough to evade the larger ships patrolling North Korea's waters. The craft was also inconspicuous enough to blend in with the boulders and reefs that appear on the country's coast during low tide. Like Kim, these 4 defectors took a massive risk, and sadly, any future defectors will likely have to do the same. After all, crossing over into China isn't an option anymore. And that's not solely because North Korea has shored up its defenses against defection across the border. China appears to be cooperating with North Korea. In December 2023, the South China Morning Post reported on a visit made by a senior North Korean diplomat to Beijing. These rare talks are apparently part of China's efforts to strengthen its relationship with North Korea, with the 2 parties agreeing to improve their, quote, strategic communication and coordination. What that might mean on a geopolitical scale isn't fully known, but for any who wish to escape from North Korea into China, this increased cooperation spells bad news. A Reuters report published just days before the South China Morning Post article points out that North Koreans who were in China had started, quote, disappearing. Reuters highlights
You mean
information
why?
from
You
the
mean why did the
Transitional
bike
Justice
fall?
Working Group, or TJWG,
I have no
which
idea.
claims that China sent 600 North Koreans back for repatriation in October alone. TJWG said,
I'm Zach, a 20-year veteran of the Navy, and I live here in Michigan.
Man.
Taking oath that's
I
not
didn't realize how
31%,
tired I
it's not
was. I
the
might have to take a
Constitution.
nap before
And
I
President
jump into
Trump
Mortal
took the same
Kombat.
oath I took. January 6th was Donald Trump's fault. This was about
Oh, take me a hit.
perhaps in North Korea's labor camps, as well as sexual violence and execution now that they're back home. TJWG says that the defectors were loaded on buses and vans to be driven back to North Korea, the concept being the largest mass repatriation in many years. Most of those sent back
Because it's
were
too
women.
tired. If I would have like put some effort into that, I probably could have figured that one out.
For its part, China has downplayed its actions, claiming that North
But
Koreans
still a
they
good
sent
one, I
back weren't
guess.
true defectors.
Still a
Instead,
good
they
one.
entered China for economic reasons, with Beijing sending them back being a simple case of them following the letter of their own law. Many would disagree. From the outside looking in, it would appear as though a deal has been struck. In exchange for North Korea's cooperation, China is sending defectors back to a country that will treat them as less than human. It's essentially a death sentence. Escaping into China simply isn't an option anymore. And it wouldn't be surprising to see more groups being sent back to Pyongyang as ties between China and North Korea strengthen. So, North Korean defectors are faced with a near impossible choice. On the one hand, they could try to take advantage of the fact that North Korea has recently reopened its borders with China to try to escape the traditional way. It won't be easy. Even with trade routes reopened, Pyongyang has boosted border security to the point where it's much harder to cross now than it was before the pandemic. And even if somebody manages to make the crossing, they'll enter a country that's just as likely to send them back as it is to accept them. Or they do what Mr. Kim and his family and the 4 defectors found huddled in a small wooden boat did, brave the dangerous waters that separate North and South Korea. Believe it or not, that might be an even more difficult route out of North Korea. Minefields near the coast, patrolling ships, radar systems, they all combine to stop most escape attempts. Even if the few who are successful at least make it to South Korea and a new life where they're accepted and rehabilitated. Alternatively, there is a third option. According to the NK News, the third quarter of 2023 saw 40 North Korean defectors leave China to reach South Korea. The outlet says that the threat of repatriation is so high that the defectors are essentially willing to defect again, leaving the place that they've called home for several years to avoid the possibility of being sent back to North Korea. Hannah Song, who works for North Korean Human Rights, one of the few organizations allowed to interview defectors after they leave, says that most of the 40 came from China and that many had spent 10 years or more there. Perhaps 2 border crossings over land would be safer than 1 via sea. By crossing into China before immediately making their way to South Korea, defectors may have a chance to start their new lives without braving minefields and the North Korean Navy. But they'll still face risk. Beyond mass deportations, China is estimated to be holding 2,000 North Koreans in prison, according to the United Nations. Cross to South Korea by sea, start a covert life in China, or use China as an opportunity to cross into South Korea. All are near impossible routes of escape, and yet over 300 North Koreans have made it via these routes in 2023. Will 2024 see more escapees manage to follow in Mr. Kim's footsteps? Only time will tell, but right now we want to hear from you. Let us know what you think about
That's
Mr.
wild.
Kim's story and his brave escape. Do you think we'll see more North Koreans making this perilous journey in 2024? Or will Kim Jong-un crack down even further, and along with China prevent more of his people from getting away? Now go ahead and check out this video, or maybe this one instead.
Call him stupid. Stupid. But I don't know. Really, I don't know.
Imagine that there was somebody who had perfect memory and could consume and read everything on the internet.
Iceman.
And understand 90% of it.
That makes sense.
Said, ask me anything.
He chilling.
Back to me.
He's chilling.
Harold can make anything. This is incredible.
All right, I am going to take a nap. I feel like I really, really need one. And I am going to get back on here probably in like 3 hours, maybe 6 o'clock. I'll make a post around 5:30, 6 o'clock. I'll get back on, play some Mortal Kombat, kick it with you guys. And yeah. Talk to you guys soon. Love you too, man.